Have you ever walked into a place that felt wrong? Like the air was too heavy, the silence too loud? Black Pines National Park has a trail like that. It doesn't show up on maps, and the rangers won't talk about it. But I found it, and what I saw there still haunts me. It was the summer of 2015 when I took a job as a park ranger at Black Pines. Fresh out of college, I was eager to trade fluorescent lights for sunlight and cubicles for open air. But within days, I noticed something strange. The other rangers avoided the northern boundary like it was cursed. They called it the Widow's Path, but no one would explain why. When I pressed them, they'd just mutter, "Stay away and change the subject." Curiosity got the better of me. One evening, after my shift, I grabbed a flashlight and headed for the trail. The moment I stepped onto it, the air changed. The trees seemed to lean closer, their branches tangling like skeletal fingers. The sunlight faded, replaced by an oppressive gloom. The only sound was the crunch of leaves beneath my boots till I heard it. A whisper. My name, barely audible, carried on the wind. I stopped dead in my tracks. "Hello," I called out. Silence, just the rustle of leaves and the pounding of my own heart. I told myself it was nothing, but the whispers grew louder, more insistent, as if the forest itself was speaking to me. And then I saw her, a woman, standing between the trees. Her dress was tattered, her face pale and hollow. She stared at me, her lips moving soundlessly, her eyes filled with a sorrow that made my chest ache. I blinked, and she was gone. I ran back to the ranger station, my breath ragged. When I told the others what I'd seen, they exchanged uneasy glances. "That's the widow," one of them said. "She's been here for decades. They say she's searching for her husband, and anyone who crosses her path never returns." I laughed it off, but that night I heard her again. Her voice, soft and pleading, echoed in my dreams. "Help me," she whispered. "Please, help me." The next morning, I went back. I don't know why. Maybe I wanted to prove it was all in my head. But the deeper I went, the colder it became. The shadow seemed alive, shifting and twisting around me. And then she appeared again closer this time, close enough to see the tears streaming down her face, close enough to hear her voice, faint but clear. "Help me," she begged. I wanted to run, but my legs wouldn't move. She reached out her hand, and everything went black. When I woke up, I was back at the ranger station. The others said they'd found me unconscious on the trail, miles from where I'd last been seen. I'd been missing for 3 days. I quit my job that same week, but the widow didn't let me go that easily. At first, it was small things, a whisper in the wind, a shadow in the corner of my eye. Then, one night, I woke up to find muddy footprints leading to my bed. The air smelled of damp earth and pine. And there, standing in the corner of my room, was her. Her hollow eyes locked onto mine, her lips forming the same silent plea. "Help me." I moved cities, changed my name, but she always finds me. And now I've started to hear another voice, a man's voice, faint but angry. He's looking for her, and when he finds her, I don't think he'll stop there. Picture this, you're camping under a sky full of stars, the fire crackling, the forest alive with sounds. But what if the forest wasn't just alive? What if it was watching you? At Redwood Creek National Park, there's a campsite that shouldn't be there. And if you find it, you might not make it back. It was supposed to be the perfect weekend getaway. My friends and I had been planning this trip for months. Redwood Creek National Park was known for its towering trees and serene trails, and we couldn't wait to escape the city. We arrived just before sunset, the sky ablaze with orange and pink. The ranger at the entrance handed us a map and pointed us to a secluded campsite near the creek. "It's quiet there," he said, "perfect for stargazing." We followed the trail, the air thick with the scent of pine. The campsite was exactly as described, a small clearing surrounded by towering redwoods, the creek bubbling nearby. We set up our tents, started a fire, and spent the evening laughing and sharing stories. But as the night deepened, something felt wrong. The forest, once alive with the sounds of crickets and owls, fell silent. The firelight seemed dimmer, the shadows longer. And then we heard a low, guttural growl coming from the trees. "Probably just a bear," my friend Jake said, though his voice wavered. We decided to turn in for the night, hoping whatever it was would leave us alone. I woke up hours later to the sound of footsteps outside my tent. My heart raced as I unzipped the flap and peered outside. The fire had died down to embers, casting an eerie glow over the campsite. And there, standing at the edge of the clearing, was a figure. It was tall, too tall to be human, its body twisted and hunched. Its eyes glowed faintly in the dark, and its breath came in ragged, wet gasps. I froze, my mind screaming at me to move, but my body wouldn't obey. The creature stepped closer, its movements jerky and unnatural, and then it spoke. "You shouldn't be here," it rasped, its voice like nails on a chalkboard. I slammed the tent flap shut and woke my friends. "We need to leave. Now," I whispered. We packed up as quickly as we could, our hands trembling, our eyes darting to the trees. But when we tried to follow the trail back to the park entrance, it was gone. The trees seemed to close in around us. The path we'd taken hours earlier, nowhere to be found. We wandered for what felt like hours, the creature's growls echoing behind us. And then, just as the sun began to rise, we stumbled into a clearing. But it wasn't our campsite. It was empty, the ground scorched and barren. And in the centre of the clearing was a sign, weathered and cracked. It read, "No camping beyond this point." We never found our tents, our gear, or the trail we'd taken. The rangers insisted the campsite didn't exist. But I knew what I saw, what I heard, what I felt. Months later, I got a package in the mail. No return address. Inside was a weathered map of Redwood Creek, with a single campsite circled in red. Scrawled on the back were the words, "You left something behind." I burned the map, but the nightmares didn't stop, and last week I found muddy footprints outside my apartment. The growl is back, louder now, closer. I don't think it's following me. I think it's waiting for me to come back. Water can be deceiving. It looks calm, inviting, even beautiful. But beneath the surface, Things are not always what they seem. At Glacier Ridge National Park, Mirror Lake is famous for its beauty, but it's also infamous for something else, something that doesn't let go. I've always loved the water. There's something calming about the way it glistens under the sun, the way it reflects the sky like a mirror. So when I visited Glacier Ridge National Park, I couldn't resist taking a dip in Mirror Lake. The lake was stunning. Its surface so still it looked like glass. The mountains towered in the distance, their peaks dusted with snow. I waded in, the water cool against my skin, and swam out to the centre of the lake. But as I floated there, something felt wrong. The water, which had been crystal clear, grew murky. The sunlight dimmed, as if a cloud had passed overhead. And then I felt it a tug, like something was pulling me down. I kicked my legs, trying to swim back to shore, but the pull grew stronger. Panic set in as I realized I wasn't alone in the water. Something was beneath me, something large and dark. I thrashed wildly, my lungs burning as I fought to stay afloat. And then I saw Eaterhand, pale and skeletal, reaching up from the depths. It grabbed my ankle, its grip icy and unrelenting. I screamed, but no sound came out. The water closed over my head, dragging me down into the darkness. I could see shapes moving around me, figures with hollow eyes and gaping mouths. They reached for me, their fingers brushing against my skin. Just as I thought it was over, I felt a sudden surge of strength. I kicked free of the hand and broke the surface, gasping for air. I swam to shore as fast as I could, my heart pounding, my body trembling. When I reached the shore, I collapsed onto the sand, my chest heaving. I looked back at the lake, expecting to see something. But the water was calm again, the surface smooth and clear. I told the rangers what happened, but they just shook their heads. Mirror Lake doesn't give back what it takes, one of them said. You're lucky you got out. But lately, I've noticed something strange. My reflection doesn't look right. It's always a second behind, its eyes hollow, its mouth twisted into a smile. And when I touch the surface of any water asink, a puddle, even my own tear-sit, feels alive, like it's waiting for me to slip. Last night, I woke up to the sound of dripping water. My bedroom floor was soaked, and in the corner of the room, I saw them, the figures from the lake, their eyes glowing faintly in the dark. They didn't speak, but I knew what they wanted. They're waiting for me to come back, and one day, I think I will.